I am 75 years old, and last night, under the splendid chandeliers of my golden wedding anniversary party, I stood there receiving the warmest applause of my life. People surrounded me, young ones with admiring eyes, old friends with respectful nods. They asked one question over and over again, like a hymn praising durability. "What's the secret, David? How have you two kept the fire burning for 50 years? How do you have such a perfect marriage?" I didn't answer immediately. I let those questions float in the air, thick with the scent of champagne and expensive roses. I didn't defend myself, didn't explain. Just smiled that calm smile society expects from a successful man, a model family pillar. My silence was interpreted as the humility of complete fulfillment, but they didn't know that behind that stillness was a suffocating pressure, a truth screaming but buried under a flashy shell. I spent my whole life listening to the world's definition of a happy family, about stability, assets, a brilliant career. I followed that blueprint absolutely, and now, when the stage lights go out, I have to stand alone in the ruins of that success to bear the consequences. People often assume that the measure of a happy marriage lies in the tangible achievements two people build together, a debt-free house, successful children, and a solid retirement fund. I used to believe that too, just like you. I used to believe that as long as this family machine ran smoothly, as long as we were effective teammates in solving bills and responsibilities, the love remained intact and solid as reinforced concrete. But the thing that truly silently hollowed out my 50-year marriage was that very terrifying efficiency. I made a fatal confusion between building a life and living that life. We were so busy looking forward at goals, milestones, future plans, that we forgot to turn and look at the person running beside us. I thought we were climbing the mountain of happiness together, but it turns out we were just running parallel on two separate tracks. The further we went, the more successful we became, the vaster the distance between our souls grew, even though our hands still held tight, smiling in front of the world. Our life didn't have the large cracks people usually call tragedies. There were no fiery arguments throwing dishes, no shady midnight texts, and certainly no mundane betrayal. From the outside, our marriage was a complete technical drawing, structurally flawless, solid against any financial or social storm. We were excellent partners in the great project named family. I handled the foundation and economic pillars. Sarah handled the interior and warmth. We coordinated so seamlessly it was frightening. Raising two kids into prestigious universities, paying off the bank debt 10 years early, and never forgetting a gift on any holiday. But my fatal mistake lay in that very emotionless rhythm. I did nothing wrong, but I also did nothing real. I never stopped amidst the whirlwind of goals to ask Sarah if she actually liked this large but empty suburban house, or if she just nodded because it was my plan. I only saw Sarah in the role of a mother, a talented housekeeper, a trusted partner, forgetting to see her as a woman with her own desires and fears. I was indifferent to her very soft sighs when night fell. I postponed deep conversations, thinking, wait until we have free time. I deceived myself that the comfortable silence between us was the understanding of soulmates, not realizing it was the deadly void of two people drifting apart right in the same bed. I built a perfect shell, but left the core inside to wither from a lack of connection and ordinary tremors. Not once, but thousands of times I used the phrase someday to fill the silent gaps widening between us. I remember clearly our 30s when Sarah timidly suggested a camping trip for just the two of us. No kids, no work. I pointed at the financial plan on the wall and said, "Wait until we pay off this mortgage, honey. Then we'll be completely free." I blindly believed that time was an infinite bank vault I could withdraw from at any moment after fulfilling my duties. When I was 40, I said wait until the kids got into prestigious colleges. When I was 50, I said wait until the retirement fund reached a safe number. I thought I was sacrificing for our shared future, but in reality, I was constantly postponing truly living with my partner in the present. I was busy building fortified walls for the home, busy accumulating soulless numbers, to the point I didn't realize time was passing without a sound, silently stealing the fragile connection between us. My reasonable refusals lasted for 3 decades. I let Sarah's small dreams, her desires to share and be heard, stand in line waiting behind projects, contracts, and social responsibilities. I thought we were looking in the same direction, but in reality, while I was focused only on the distant finish line, she had to learn to walk alone on her own track without me ever noticing. That shattering moment came right in the middle of the golden wedding anniversary party, amidst the clinking of glasses and the thunderous applause congratulating the perfect couple. I stood there, chest puffed with pride, raising my wine glass, preparing to say flowery words about a half-century journey. I turned to Sarah, intending to kiss her cheek as a familiar ritual before the crowd. But her hand in mine was ice cold, with not a trace of returning warmth. Sarah didn't look at the guests. She looked through me, her eyes tired and empty like the windows of this large house when the lights are out. She tilted slightly, whispering a sentence, quiet enough to destroy my entire worldview. "David, we reached the finish line. We have everything you wanted. But why is it that when I look around, I don't see you anywhere?" That question was light as a feather, but dealt a fatal blow to my pride. In that very second, amidst the melodious music and hollow praises, I knew I had lost. I realized I had been frantically racing to build a great family empire, only to lose the one person who should have been standing with me at the finish line. By the time the brutal truth hidden behind that whispered question truly sank in, the party music had died down, and the children had returned to their own families, leaving 2 old people adrift in the sprawling house I once proudly called an achievement. I realized that for all those years, the only thing tethering us to a parallel path was not understanding or passionate love, but shared projects, raising kids, paying off debt, accumulating assets. When the youngest child left the nest, that sole layer of glue peeled away, revealing a naked truth. We are the most familiar strangers in the world. I look at the woman sitting quietly in the chair opposite me. She is still there, right in my line of sight. But her mind has migrated to a land for which I have no map. I am an architect. All my life I've known how to calculate load-bearing limits, how to reinforce rotting pillars, how to fix cracks in walls. But I am completely helpless, empty-handed before the invisible crack splitting our 2 beds apart. I cannot use my pension to buy back dead emotions. I cannot trade my social standing for a common topic to talk about with my wife, other than the weather or our health. Time is cruel in that it doesn't allow you to resubmit your blueprints to start construction over from scratch. I spent my whole life building a sturdy fortress to protect Sarah, but I forgot to actually be inside that fortress with her. Now, I stand at the pinnacle of my career looking down to see myself ruling a desolate kingdom, where my queen closed the doors to her heart a long time ago. I used to believe that the success of a marriage was quantified by specific numbers, the balance in the bank account, the square footage of the house, and the number of degrees the children held. I triumphantly assumed I was a 10 out of 10 husband because I never let Sarah worry about bread and butter, never let a single crack appear in the wall of safety I built around her. I spent my life pursuing perfection and correctness, believing that was the highest expression of love. But sitting here in this vast but cold living room, I am shocked to realize how terribly skewed my frame of reference was. I made a fatal confusion between owning a house and nurturing a home. I thought that doing nothing wrong, no cheating, no gambling, no violence, meant I was doing right. But in love, doing nothing wrong has never been enough. What people need are the superfluous but essential things I cast aside: spontaneous hugs, aimless conversations, the full presence of the soul, not just the body. I won every investment deal. I was right in every strategic decision for the family, but I failed miserably at being my wife's soulmate. What I lacked wasn't capability or responsibility, but emotional resonance. I realized I would rather live in a cramped apartment where husband and wife know exactly what the other is thinking than be a king in a magnificent castle where each person is lonely in their own distinct way, right on their own throne. I cannot turn back the hands of the clock to tear down the invisible walls that my own hands persistently built over the last half-century. The mortar of silence and distant habits has now hardened into reinforced concrete, turning the short distance between our two armchairs in the living room into an unbridgeable abyss. I will have to accept living out the rest of my life in this great achievement of mine, as a lonely monarch ruling a vast, convenient kingdom that is completely devoid of the warmth of true connection. But you who are still holding the construction blueprints of your life in your hands, you still possess the power to change the structure of that house. Don't let the pressure to be successful, stable, or perfect fool you into thinking that's all a family needs. Look at the person placing the bricks with you every day. Are you building a fortress to protect them, or are you unintentionally building a solitary prison, confining the love of both of you into separate rooms? You still have the chance to pause for a beat, to set down your worries about the future and truly hold their hand in the present, to ensure that when the project of your life is complete, you aren't standing alone between cold walls without a single door to enter the other person's heart. Tonight, when the living room lights go out, I will walk back to the bedroom and lie down next to Sarah, like a habit repeated for 50 years. We are still the model couple in the eyes of the world, but only the darkness and the ceiling truly understand the immense distance between our two pillows. I no longer have the strength to tear down the invisible walls that my own thoughtlessness persistently built. I can only accept living in this cold comfort until the end of my life. And you, who are engrossed in the flashy blueprints of fame and fortune, ask yourself one thing before drifting off to sleep. Is there a story, a fear of your partner that you have postponed listening to just because you thought later is fine? Are you truly building a home to shelter in together, or are you unintentionally building two separate towers, only to one day startle and realize you're standing too high and too far away to hear the call of the person you once loved the most?